I hope this video finds you in a great place, because today I want to talk about how the church just mercilessly exploited Norma McCorvey, better known as Jane Roe, in the historic, now overturned Roe versus Wade case for the woman's right to choose whether she carries her pregnancy to term or terminate. This is the hypocrisy of it all for me. They took this woman who had taken a stance in her life, targeted her, paid her, and just manipulated the whole situation and spectrum of things in order for the unsuspecting public to think that this woman who had stood up for herself and decided that she didn't want to abide by the principles that were basically created by some man and upheld by some other men. I watched that documentary that she did at the end of her life. Now, I know the lady was a liar, but what she wasn't lying about was all the money that various religious churches were handing her over the years to claim that she was saved by the Lord, that she didn't believe in abortion, that what she stood for had been wrong, that she was no longer a lesbian, that she loved the Lord, and all these things. Because I'm almost certain that if Norma had had the education and the wherewithal to support herself and not just been a desperate cleaning lady, scratching and surviving for her support to be able to take care of herself, there's no way she would have resorted to allowing herself and her legacy to be exploited for survival. See, that's one of the things that the church preys on. You don't even have to be Norma in seeking to have agency over your body. Most of the people that turn up in churches, they're there because they are desperate. And the church thrives and preys off of that, the desperation. And what they basically are saying to you is, we got the lifeline over here. All you got to do is basically sign your life over to us and we'll handle the rest. As long as you believe what we say, parrot what we say, and do what we do. And, that was one of the things that no matter how long I was saved, I always had a issue and huge, terrible anxiety about witnessing to people, because I didn't understand why we had to force what we believed on somebody who wasn't even asking for it. Can you name anything where people go door to door trying to sell you something? Because I don't care if I'm just knocking on your door and I'm quote unquote, and I'm doing air quotes, sharing with you the good news. I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you on my street corner. I didn't ask you unless I come to your church and I'm looking for it. Or if I'm searching for it, that's one thing. If you share it with me. But it's almost like when salesmen come to your door, you don't want that mess. You didn't ask for that mess. Nobody sent for you. And that was the repulsion that I always got, because I cannot stand telemarketers to this day. If I don't have you programmed in my phone is literally on Do Not Disturb 24/7. Because I do not like at no point in time to be bothered with telemarketers. So there is no you just coming in here dropping off some good news or trying to scam me, because that's what this really was. They not only scammed this woman into denying who she really was at her core, which was a lesbian, and there's nothing wrong with that. She did not really, at the end of the day, want to carry those pregnancies that she carried to term. She didn't just have one baby while the court case was going on. She had two. You know, it's so ironic. Those that fight for the privileges that we enjoy today usually don't get to enjoy them. She stood and she was the poster child for the right to choose, but she didn't even get to choose herself. And when she did, it was for her survival. And that's exactly what the church really wants us. That's why the rhetoric is so negative when you think about it. That's why when I listen to one side, it's about hope and it's about moving forward. And the other side is talking about how everything is going to be destroyed and how you need to be protected and we're going to go back. It's probably no, what's the word I'm looking for? It ain't no suspicion that I'm probably a person of color here, just based on my voice. Let's go there. And for me, because my mother and my grandmother and my grandmother's mother were all alive before the Civil Rights Act movement, what exactly are we going back to? And even if you are not of a brown or other persuasion here, as a woman, do you really want to go back to when you couldn't even own property in your own name? To when you couldn't even have a credit card without a man saying it was okay? To when you couldn't even vote? See, that book was for, I guess, those people's place and their time. But you couldn't even, nobody was even voting back then. Elections didn't even exist. So the things that we are doing in this day and in this time, when you look at that book, is so antiquated. And I am not by any stretch of the imagination saying that some of what is in that book is about having decency and morals, but the majority of it is all about trying to oppress and control and be able to just dominate. Now, you need to know where you fit in that equation. What I do know is that when you are so desperate to change something that you take another desperate person and then exploit said desperate person just to switch and sway your own narrative, to support your sick, twisted narrative, that is sad. And then for you to just be so blasé and casual about it, I can't support that. The things that the church and the lengths that the church is willing to go to, because that's what they were doing back in the, either I believe it was the 90s, maybe, that she did all of this. Her children were grown by the time she became a born-again Christian. Notice I said her children were born, because I'm going back to what I said before. She fought for the privilege that we were given. And now we let it get taken away from us. Don't forget about your privileges, because while you might not be thinking about it, they are.